So what happens when the empty nest suddenly isn't so empty anymore? Let's get into it.
And for a lot of parents, this is a really confusing and honestly pretty painful new reality.
It all boils down to this one question. Where does love end and enabling begin? Let's unpack that.
I mean, after decades of work, most parents are just hoping for some well-deserved peace and quiet.
But it almost always starts with these simple words. A little while that just keeps stretching. See, when an adult kid comes home, it's not just them and their bags. There's hidden baggage. Yeah, the bills go up, privacy goes out the window, all of it adds up to a ton of new stress.
But honestly, the heaviest cost is falling back into that parenting role they thought was over. And that right there creates this huge internal battle, love versus just pure exhaustion.
So you might ask, why don't they just say something?
Well, these fears are a big reason why.
But deep down, the feeling is real. And look, it doesn't make them bad parents. It just makes them human.
Which brings us to this really critical distinction. Are they actually helping or just enabling? Okay, so helping, that's all about building them up. Enabling, well, that's just taking over.
Suddenly, parents have to ask a question that probably never ever crossed their minds before.
And for older parents, the stakes here are just incredibly high. So why is that? Because it's not just about the money, even though that's huge. There's something way more precious. And that precious resource, it's time. This, right here, is the absolute heart of the problem. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Every single year. Every dollar. It just means more now. So what they're really losing isn't just their peace and quiet. It's the future they worked for.
That's why this idea is so key. Love without any boundaries can actually become self-destructive.
So what's the move? How do you find that balance? It really comes down to a few key things. At the end of the day, the job was to raise a child. It wasn't to carry an adult. Which leaves us with this final thought. How do you balance that compassion with your own self-preservation?